Okay, so if you've ever looked at a tiny balcony, maybe a narrow side yard, or honestly, even just a sunny windowsill, and thought, well, that's way too small to grow anything real, we're about to flip that completely upside down. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're zooming in on the science and strategy of how small garden plots produce. I mean, we're talking about yielding absolutely massive harvest in the tiniest, most constrained spaces. We're going to explore exactly how this works and why your little plot might actually hold a huge secret advantage over those massive open fields. It's a super common pain point, isn't it? So many of us desperately want to grow our own fresh produce, but we just immediately count ourselves out. Why? Because we don't have, acres of rolling green hills. We carry around this deeply ingrained myth that a big harvest fundamentally requires a vast, sprawling farm. But when you look at the research and the actual day-to-day practices of modern kitchen gardeners, it's a totally different story. It turns out growing your own food does require some space, sure, but that doesn't necessarily mean having a huge garden, or really a garden at all. Think about it. When you run out of ground space, what do? You look up. By utilizing vertical space, we're talking suspended pots, climbing trellises, you actually transform a flat, boring brick wall into this incredibly lush, highly productive ecosystem. Walls, balconies, simple wooden fences, they all offer absolutely premium growing real estate if you just know how to use them. It literally redefines our whole concept of what a garden plot can even look like. Now, it isn't just about clever placement. There is actual, hard environmental science working in favor of your small urban plot. Small spaces are uniquely productive in towns and cities, thanks to something called the urban heat island effect. Basically, large buildings do two huge things for us. First, they provide totally crucial shelter from damaging winds. And second, their materials soak up heat all day long, and then at night they slowly radiate that heat right back out. Combine that with the general heat generated by city life, and it actually bumps up the local temperature of your microgarden by a very useful few degrees. And the specific benefits of this heat effect? This is where the small plot really flexes its muscles. That radiating heat we just talked about actually extends your growing season on both ends, so you get earlier springs and later falls. Plus, that wind shelter means you maintain higher summer temperatures than a farmer out in a rural, exposed field might. Ultimately, these protected little microclimates make it completely viable to grow exotic, heat-loving crops. We're talking about successfully cultivating things like figs, okra, loquats, tomatillos, right in the middle of a city. I mean, rural farmers might seriously struggle with those out in the open elements. If you have an enclosed space facing south or west, it basically acts exactly like one of those historical walled gardens, just scaled down. It creates an absolute sun trap. Heat-loving crops, think chili peppers, peaches, those gorgeous tomatoes, deep purple eggplants, they absolutely revel in that captured warmth. Meanwhile, you don't waste the cooler spots either. Your north or east-facing walls are perfect for leafy lettuces and brassicas. So, one single tiny plot can actually provide a complete spectrum of growing environments. Section 1. The Hacker's Guide to Growing Up and Over. Since ground space is your absolute limit in a small plot, you really have to treat the whole environment like a dynamic 3D puzzle. So let's look at some really clever spatial hacks to maximize literally every single inch. First off, hanging baskets. They are not just for decorative flowers. They are absolutely perfect for tumbling crops like tomatoes and strawberries. Second, you can train trailing squashes right along the edges of your paths using little stakes so they don't gobble up your precious bed space. Third, and this blew my mind, you can actually train fruit trees like apples perfectly flat against your walls and fences. And fourth is underplanting. This means taking advantage of the shady spots right beneath your taller crops like sweet corn to grow lettuces that actually really appreciate a break from the harsh afternoon sun. Then, consider the freestanding wigwam structure. This is just a classic, brilliant example of maximizing a minimal footprint. Climbing crops, like runner beans, take up barely any actual bed space down at the base, but they scramble up these poles and provide this massive, continuous harvest all summer long. And the absolute best part? The more you pick them, the more they grow. You can honestly even stick these wigwams right in the middle of your ornamental flower beds. But mastering how small garden plots produce isn't only about managing physical space. It actually requires shifting our whole perspective to the dimension of time. To get the absolute most out of what you have, you want to choose crops that play the clock to your advantage. This means laser focusing on cut-and-come-again varieties and baby crop varieties. These rapid growers allow for multiple successive harvests in just one single season. Basically, your tiny patch of dirt is working major overtime for you. Just to put that timeline into perspective for a second, baby varieties of turnips, beets, and carrots, you can harvest those within just a couple of months of sowing. And those cut and come again salads or fresh herbs, listen to this. A single large pot will keep an average family supplied for over 2 months. Why? Because once you cut the leaves, they just yield fresh, new growth again in a mere 3 weeks. You're basically creating this rapid-fire assembly line of fresh food. Section 2, microcontrol using containers and raised beds. Let's see how this incredibly tight space management actually gives you a massive advantage. People always assume a huge farm is the ultimate ideal, but small plots actually offer drastically superior control over your soil and daily maintenance. Take raised beds, for instance. When you're dealing with a tightly contained area of soil, you have absolute authority over it. You can perfectly tailor the soil pH. You can guarantee it's entirely rock-free and not compacted at all. This creates an absolute utopia for delicate root crops that would normally fork or get stunted in heavy, rocky farm soil. Plus, when you add organic matter, there is zero waste. Literally every ounce of fertilizer goes straight to the roots, rather than washing away down a tractor path. I absolutely love this quote from the source material because it perfectly hits the nail on the head regarding the lifestyle difference. Think about the grueling, heavy chores of large-scale farming. The novelty of pushing a massive wheelbarrow or having to put slugs in your car trunk or the drive home from a community plot. That wears thin really fast. A microgarden removes all that daunting overhead. You're cultivating in bite-sized chunks, you rarely have to battle massive weed infestations, and yes, it's also easier to sneak out in your pajamas in the morning to enjoy homegrown fruit for breakfast. It's just a joyful, super accessible intimacy with your food. And this level of microcontrol allows you to successfully grow this incredibly diverse variety of foods right next to each other, plants that usually demand totally different environments. You can have acid-loving blueberries absolutely thriving in a dedicated terracotta pot with perfectly tailored compost, sitting right smack next to a deep raised bed full of flawless giant root vegetables. You dictate the rules for every single square foot. Which brings us to our final and, honestly, probably our most important strategy. Because you are working with strictly limited space, you have to treat your crop selection almost like a strict economic decision. You are not aiming for absolute self-sufficiency here. Very, very few people have the space for that. Instead, you've got to prioritize. You must think quality, not quantity, to really maximize your valuable real estate. So the crucial point to remember is this: create a to-buy list and a to-grow list. Seriously, never ever waste your precious small space on bulky, cheap supermarket staples. Don't dedicate an entire container to main crop potatoes that take months to grow and cost literally pennies at the store. Instead, grow things that are incredibly expensive, rare, or strictly best when eaten super fresh. I'm talking about growing Nun's belly button green beans, or fat lazy blonde lettuce, or yellow stuffer tomatoes. These are varieties you will literally never find in a supermarket aisle. Grow early melt-in-the-mouth new potatoes. You want to grow for novelty, flavor, and high value. It really changes how you look at the space around you, doesn't it? We've seen how flat walls become buzzing ecosystems, how city heat becomes this massive advantage, and how tight constraints actually breed incredible agricultural creativity. So, I'll leave you with this provocative thought. If a single pot on a patio can provide an entire family with months of fresh salads, what hidden harvests are currently waiting to be unlocked on your windowsill or right along your fence line? Take a look around your own home today with this fresh perspective, because your next big harvest might just be waiting in the smallest of spaces.